Now back to our top story on 11 Alive tonight. A white man is in police custody accused of killing 8 people at 3 spas in Cherokee and Fulton counties.
We know 6 of the victims were Asian women. A white man and white woman were also killed. The suspect arrested about 150 miles outside of Atlanta last night. We have team coverage for you tonight. We're hearing from the Asian American Pacific Islander community and people who knew the victims. We begin though with Brittany Kleinpeter, who's live at the spa in Cherokee County where the suspect first opened fire. Brittany?
There's been a steady flow of people coming in and out of the businesses nearby this spa here in Cherokee County, and we have been seeing people stop by adding things to a memorial as far as flowers, signs, teddy bears, and it has been business as usual as far as the surrounding businesses. But tonight, police are sharing more into the insight of what could have motivated this man to do what he did yesterday.
He understood the gravity of it, and he was pretty much fed up.
Local and federal law enforcement agencies pieced together what happened after 8 people were killed in a shooting spree targeting 3 Metro Atlanta spas Tuesday evening. The first shooting happened just after 5 p.m. at Young's Asian Massage, where 4 people were killed, a bullet going through the business next door.
They was like, oh, it's very screaming, and I told to my husband, hey, you can see what happened with them. Maybe they need help.
Just 45 minutes later, 4 more people killed in a second and third shooting at spas across the street from one another on Piedmont in Midtown Atlanta. Police saying they quickly identified Robert Long as the suspect after they put out surveillance photos of the gunman, and Long's family contacted them. Law enforcement said that they then used Long's phone to track him down and arrest him in Crisp County last night. Today, he's being held at the Cherokee County Detention Center. Investigators telling NBC Long purchased the gun legally yesterday in Georgia. In a press conference today, the Cherokee County Sheriff said Long has admitted to the crimes and told investigators he's a sex addict.
He apparently has an issue, what he considers a sex addiction, and sees these locations as something that allows him to go to these places, and it's a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate.
Law enforcement also saying Long told them he was headed to Florida to commit similar crimes when he was arrested.
It really speaks to the coordination and the quick response from law enforcement. This could have been significantly worse.
Long, a 2017 graduate of Sequoia High School. Crabapple First Baptist Church telling us Long was a member, releasing a statement saying, "We grieve for the victims and their families, and we continue to pray for them. Moreover, we are distraught for the Long family and continue to pray for them as well." Long is expected to make his first court appearance tomorrow in front of a judge for the first time.
Brittany, thank you. Today we've learned the victims include wives, mothers, and spa employees. Caitlin Ross spoke to some of their family members and friends.
Flowers are at the crime scene to remember the victims. Pictures posted online sharing memories of their lives. Law enforcement has released the names and ages of some of the victims, along with the information of the sole survivor of the attack. Delania Yon was among those killed. Friends and family shared memories of the mother of 2 on social media. One of her friends told me she was an incredible mom. She loved her kids and her husband. They were just married in August. Their daughter is 9 months old. Her cousin says the couple was out on a date at the Cherokee County Spa Tuesday night when Delania was killed. Her family is still in disbelief. One friend said it was like she had a light that just drew you in. She says she hasn't stopped crying since the attack, and the last words her friend said to her were, "I love you." Police in Atlanta have not released the identities of the victims of the attacks there. The Korean consulate here in Atlanta told me they're working closely with police. They're now investigating whether 4 of the women killed in the attack were Korean nationals or Korean Americans.
There's no denying the impact these shootings have had on Atlanta's Asian American community. The crime stoking more fears on top of the racism many tell us they've experienced during the pandemic. 11 Alive Shanu Hur is live near the spas in Midtown, sharing their perspectives with us tonight. Shanu.
Yeah, Aisha, right now in Atlanta, it is still a busy scene here where those shootings happened last night all day. Kind of like what Brittany was talking about in Cherokee County. People have been stopping by, leaving flowers, and this memorial over here is starting to grow tonight. Now, since last night, I've been in touch with several Asian American people in Metro Atlanta, from business owners to political leaders to just everyday residents. They tell me these killings are not only terrifying to them, but also angers them.
Why is this happening? Why are we being targeted?
It's a question on the minds of Asian Americans in Atlanta after a gunman killed 8 people Tuesday night at 3 different spas. Law enforcement say 6 of those killed were Asian women. Ching Shia's family's Chinese restaurant has been in Metro Atlanta for 30 years, and as an Asian business owner, she's still processing everything.
I feel angry and also scared at the same time. Myself, and my mom and my sister, we're here, managing the restaurant, and we're Asian minority. It could happen to anyone.
Her anger, her fear is shared with others in the AAPI community around the metro. Just 2 weeks ago, Samtita Saharith found an Asian racial slur spray painted on her car after leaving a movie theater in Gwinnett County. No one's been arrested.
Now I'm like I have to be more cautious now, because this is it's escalating to a bigger problem now. It's now it's really happening here.
Community organizers and political leaders hear that fear and worry, and right now are coming together to find the best ways they can support the victims, their families, and those living in fear.
Feels like in all fronts we're afraid. We're afraid for our lives, for our businesses, for our community. And so we were on a community call today and just trying to figure out how can we help the victims.
The Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta organization released a statement condemning the shootings and voicing support for the victims. When our most vulnerable community members are targeted, we all need to band together. Shia says that unity is what's needed right now.
I've been here for more than 30 years. I basically grew up here. This is my home, and this shouldn't happen to anybody.
Now, many different Asian organizations in Metro Atlanta tell me they're organizing and planning, and they'll mobilize in the coming days. Coming up at 6 o'clock here from State Rep Marvin Lin.
Thank you, Chanu. So research from several nonprofits show anti-Asian hate incidents are on the rise, and a disproportionate number of attacks have happened aimed at women. Nearly 3,800 incidents of hate were reported over the course of about a year during the pandemic, according to the organization Stop Asian American and Pacific Islander Hate. This includes shunning, slurs, and even physical attacks. That's about 1,000 more than the previous year's count. And women were victims in 68% of those incidents. There have been protests across the country to stop the violence, and tomorrow the House Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing against discrimination and violence against Asian Americans. Ahead here at 5:30, Matt Pearl will have more about the reports warning about something like this happening.
Tonight, we're hearing from DeKalb County District Attorney Sherry Boston following the shooting rampage. She released a statement saying, in part, while investigative details are still unfolding regarding the motive of the alleged shooter, the incident mirrors what we've seen across the nation over the past year. Asian Americans in particular victimized by violent crime. To be clear, we stand against violence perpetrated against any person or community of people, while simultaneously standing for justice regardless of race, creed, ethnicity, or nationality for either perpetrator or victim. Jennifer Bellamy continues our team coverage now on what constitutes a hate crime here.
Yes, Sharon, a lot of people really wondering about this evening. We know law enforcement has said that the suspect told investigators he wasn't motivated by race, but with a gunman allegedly purposefully targeting these businesses and killing 6 Asian women, a lot of people again asking online why this is not being called a hate crime. Our 11 Alive legal analyst Paige Pate explained why law enforcement may not be using the words, at least not yet.
Murder is a lot more serious crime under Georgia law than a hate crime based upon the potential punishment. It doesn't get any more serious than murder. So the police want to make sure they have built a good, solid murder case before they look at other motivating factors. If this person is prosecuted and convicted for murder, especially multiple murders, it's going to be life in prison. So I think it's important to still investigate the hate part of that and to see if it is a hate crime so that you can identify it, prosecute it, and report it. But let's first make sure they got the right guy and that they can successfully prosecute him for murder, because that's going to put him behind bars forever.
Pate says it's difficult to prove what's in someone's heart or mind. So as part of their investigation, he says investigators will look into past actions, social media, any documents or writings, and speak with family and friends in trying to prove a hate crime was committed. There wasn't always an option for someone in Georgia to be charged that way. Our hate crime law is less than a year old. Governor Kemp just signed it into law last June.